Hey there, this is Angela with Parkrose Permaculture. I did yard work for a client this morning and now I am home on a gorgeous sunny afternoon doing my own yard work. And I thought I would share with you some quick tips for helping your tomatoes ripen here at the end of the season. So for some folks, there's quite a lot of time left in their garden season, but here in Portland, we have a long summer season, but it's relatively cool, and temperatures start to dip in mid-September to a point where the tomato season is really wrapping up. And so there is a crunch here to get your tomatoes to ripen before night temperatures drop too low and your tomatoes kind of go over, and that's the end of them. So I thought I would take an example here. So you can see I've been working on cleaning up beds and adding compost, and I'm adding trace rock minerals and things like that. And then these beds will get mulched and ready for planting next spring. And actually some of them are going to be planted out in September with things like Brussels sprouts and things. But so while I still have some tomatoes in these neighboring beds here, I'm trying to get them to ripen up as soon as I can so I can clear the bed and similarly clean it up, add in compost, add in rock minerals, and either sow a cover crop or get those overwintering vegetables in. So here's my two big tips for getting tomatoes to ripen. This is a brandy wine. If we look down here, we have one I need to pick today. And then there's some in various stages of ripening. So how do I push to get these guys to ripen down here? So the first thing I want to do is I definitely want to stop watering. I've actually, if you know from some of my videos, I don't really water at all. But if you are somebody who is still watering your tomato plants, stop. Because what happens is they split as they ripen if you water them too much. And also it slows down that chain of chemical reactions in the plant and processes in the plant that tell the plant to stop flowering. So as long as you keep watering, your plant is more likely to keep flowering. And that leads me to the second part, which is you need to cut off all the flowers. So let's look up here. So I've already started. You can see here I topped some. You just want to come in, identify where your flowers are, and then go down until you are past the point where you're about to hit any tomatoes that are maybe might ripen up. So I want to come in here and I'm going to clip that, but I don't want to actually remove any of the larger green tomatoes. And I want to come along here. Here's one that is going to be a flower bud. I'm going to come in and I'm going to clip that. Same thing, clipping all my flowers off here. And I want to keep looking down the stem. Now these little tiny tomatoes like this are not going to ripen before it gets too cold, so I want to remove those too. And that way I'm getting the plant to put all of its energy into ripening up the tomatoes that have a hope of becoming mature before the weather gets too cold. And I am trimming off all of the distraction of blossoms and new tiny tomatoes so that the plant can focus its energy on giving me food that can actually ripen in time. It's focusing its energy on what is left, and that is tomatoes that have a hope of maturing. Same thing, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to remove this little guy in here, and I'm not going to remove the big one because that one might ripen. Okay, so if you go around and do that with all of your tomato plants this time of year, you see a greater chance of ripening off the ones that are closer to maturity. And actually for cherry tomatoes, I only take the blossoms. I don't take the smaller fruit because they can ripen quickly. And for the big beefsteaks, I just want to leave the larger tomatoes and take everything else, immature tomatoes and the blossoms. So let me come show you over here on this cherry tomato. Again, you can see I've been cleaning up beds, starting to pull up things. We're at that point in the season, I've talked about it before, summer garden fatigue. Some things have really gone over, some things are over mature. We're starting to cycle into getting closer to that season of rest in the fall. So some of the garden looks very tired. So here we're in with my cherry tomatoes. Same thing, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to leave all of these because these have time to mature, but I'm going to take all of this blossom, 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 down to the first area of green tomatoes. I'm going to cut that, and that's going to get thrown right back on the bed. Same thing up here. Cut all of that. Okay? So I'm going to keep doing that across all of my tomato plants and hopefully push the ones that are in the process of maturing to maturity before cold weather hits. Hope that helps you. If you are a tomato grower, go ahead and stop watering and take a half hour, come out to your garden, clip off all those blossoms, and you'll be rewarded with more ripe tomatoes before fall hits. Happy gardening. Enjoy this nice last blush of summer, and I'll be back soon.